So depending on how the YouTube algorithm is working today, either it's New Year's Eve or Happy New Year. So this is a potpourri video. I got a couple things I want to just get off my chest, share with you, and we'll get into the new year with some great new content. Couple things. Christmas time. My son got me this really cool little toolbox. You've probably seen them all over the place, these little mini toolboxes. This one I picked up at Harbor Freight. I think they were on sale for 11 bucks at one point. Now they're typically around $20. But what's in it is what's exciting to me. First off, my son calls me Homer. So he put a sticker on here that says Homer's Toolbox. And he loaded this thing with stuff that he has 3D printed for me or purchased that would be considered EDC items or everyday carry, things that you might find in your pocket on a normal day. And beyond that, he filled it with things that he knew I would find convenient here in the shop. Now, he also knew that I was getting my Ender 3 Pro 3D printer up and running. I'm thinking about another printer, one that's maybe a little bit more user-friendly, but I've owned this one for a couple years and needed to start printing on it. And so I've done that. And he set me up with quite a number of really cool little doodads. I mean, what a neat and thoughtful gift. For example, something he printed on his 3D printer. He printed all of these various storage containers, and he printed the grid that's underneath here. This is part of the Gridfinity system, which if you're into any kind of 3D printing organization, you know about Gridfinity. These are files that are free and are open source. If you have a 3D printer, you can download them for free and then configure them any which way you want. In fact, these bins are designed to where if you have a deep enough space, they can be stacked on one another and printed out in any size to fit the grid. So all of these drawers have these grids inside of them, and that's what makes them subdivided. But check this out. He printed on his printer a utility knife. You think about, well, gee, what would I ever do if I owned a 3D printer? One of the neatest things is you can go onto quite a number of websites now and download files for free, and you can print them as they are, or you can adapt them in any way that you like. And this is just a straight up print. I don't know if you can see on the back there, it says Phayron, whoever that is, probably the designer. This is the F1, and it just snaps in place. Little utility knife, very cool. Made me a couple of those, as well as all these organizational things. Here again, something on the Gridfinity platform, a place to put quarter-inch drive bits and so on. Anyway, I thought this was really thoughtful and very cool, and you'll probably be seeing it in the background as I continue to use my printer. As far as other practical uses for the printer, the very first thing I needed to do was I have a switch just like this on my Shopsmith planer back here. And the problem with it is the switch is missing now, or the key. The switch will turn off and on as long as something is depressing a little spring plunger right behind the key. And the key is designed to be pressed in place and then rotated a quarter turn, and then that will retain it. The problem is a lot of people will go to town on this key thinking that's what's actually starting it. And then you end up with a key that looks like this one. Let me show you one that I printed. This was my first successful print there. And you can see compared to a stock one, this one has the little pin on the end and this one does not. That little pin is what retains it. And that was my first successful print. And that was a print that was already available on Thingiverse. I'll put a link to Thingiverse. I always mispronounce it. Anyway, I thought that was very clever. The problem with these are you have to watch the way that the layers are oriented. The printer is printing thin layers of melted plastic. And this one was oriented this way with it printing up, which means there are shear lines everywhere here. Now that did make the little pin portion of it stronger, but it made this portion weak. So maybe not a permanent solution, but I think it's a great solution for now. Now, a couple of things I did print that I found useful. I'm in the process of printing quite a number of these little holders, and you probably know what these are for. I'm not even going to tell you what they're for. Leave a comment down below. You know what these are for. So far, I've printed 4 of them. These are used in pairs. These parts get bolted together. This gets screwed to the wall, and it is a holder, right? And I need quite a number of those. I've had some fails along the way. I've only been printing for probably a week or so, and I thought I'd go ahead and print a Shopsmith coupler. This is something I showed a couple years ago that I don't recommend necessarily for everyday use. I like the Shopsmith couplers best because they are made of the right material in the right thickness, and they're designed to eventually, if necessary, shear in the event of a tool getting stopped all of a sudden. And you can see, speaking of a tool getting stopped all of a sudden, I was in the middle of an incredibly long print. And you see that line right there? That's when our power went out for about 2 hours. And then I was able to restart the print. But the problem is this space is so cold that the portion that had already printed had shrunk a bit. So I jumped on Amazon and bought this little enclosure here to help keep the printer warm. Hopefully that'll never happen again. But, you know, even in a normal printing environment where it's cold, that could have shrunk. So long term, that enclosure is going to make a lot of sense. What else do we have going on here? Oh, I know something. Shopsmith recently had a sale, and I pointed to it on a couple places, including mygrowthrings.com as well as the community tab here on YouTube. This is a riving knife, and a riving knife is incorporated into, let me move this out of the way. A riving knife is incorporated into the standard upper saw guard on the 510 and the 520 and the Mark 7. This has been the standard since about 1985. Long before riving knives were required on saws in America, Shopsmith had it. But a riving knife without an upper saw guard can also be handy if you're making a kerf that doesn't cut all the way through a piece of stock, or for some reason the upper saw guard is going to be a problem for you and you still want to have the safety that's going to prevent the stock from pinching after the cut. That's what this is for. And this is designed to slide right in the place of the standard upper saw guard and clamps with the standard clamp. Somebody else left a comment that I was actually quite excited about. They said, would it be possible to use the Toughbuilt universal mount? This is designed for putting a chop saw on a stand. Would it be possible to use this to attach things to the weigh tubes over here on the Shopsmith? Very much the way that I created the Chopsmith stand to attach a chop saw onto the weigh tubes. And I was very excited, thought I'd give it a try. You see the way these are designed to be used. They go onto a parallel tube base. One tube would rest here, and the other one, when you turn the knob, you can see about a 1/4 inch of tightening action takes place. The problem is these don't fit on the weigh tubes. This is too far apart. I thought, well, maybe there'd be a chance to adjust it, and yes, there is an adjustment screw here, but it doesn't give us nearly the amount of adjustment to make this work. So this is going to go back to Amazon, unfortunately. It's a neat idea if you've got some kind of a chop saw stand. If you have a job site table saw, you want to have other tools that you're going to switch off and on of your chop saw stand. This makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on the Shopsmith. Oh, just in case you're wondering, it doesn't work on the bottom tubes either, because again, they are still too far apart. Last thing I wanted to show you, I've been complaining for a while about my dirty black apron, and I love this apron. It is a waxed canvas, and I had some people kind of lose their minds when I mentioned that it got better after I washed it a couple times. And because the point of wax canvas is you don't wash it. It's for use outdoors or when you're working around grease and things like that. I'm not using this outdoors and I'm not working around grease, although I now have one that I can dedicate to that purpose because I bought the exact same apron now in tan. The one thing about these, as I mentioned, they're a little bit stiff because they are waxed. One thing you can do with these, and like this one's got some creases and lines because it came packaged up in a box, you can hit these with a hair dryer or a heat gun and melt the wax, and you can get these kind of creases out if you want, or you can just wash it and throw it in the dryer a couple times, like I just might do again. So if you've been with me all year, you've maybe watched 71 videos that were posted on this channel. Many of those videos are now channel member only over at mygrowthrings.com. I want to put one last plug in for the year. If you're not over there, there's a free membership and there's some paid memberships from $3 up to $10, $20 if you want to. I discourage people from spending $20 a month, but yeah, I'm not going to stop you. Hope you check it out. Hope you make 2025 the best year ever and make it a great day.